Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is Karen with Journey Beyond Divorce. I am I believe it's day five. Hold on a second. Day five of my 21-day go live on Instagram. Good morning, everyone. Day five of my 21-day live challenge. Let me make sure you can hear me. And today we're talking about, am I codependent? A lot of people that I work with come to me and we start exploring behavior, and codependence and people pleasing, which are often mixed, are often part of the dynamic in the marriage and the divorce. And so today I want to just talk about what is codependence. And let's just start with the confusion ends up being most codependents are big caretakers, right? We like to serve other people. We like to support other people. And so what's the difference between coming from that heart-centered place of service and caretaking, which comes from an emotional energy of compassion and love? And what's the difference between that and coming from a place that's not healthy? And so one of the things that I want to talk about today is the tell. So how do you tell the difference between being a caretaker and being codependent? And the key is your why, right? So I'll give you an example. If I decide to cancel my plans because my child needs me, they're moving into a new apartment, they've got a big tournament this weekend, they need me for whatever it is, I may ditch my plans and totally step in to help them. That is not codependence. That is unconditional love. That is parenting. Same thing with a friend. A friend reaches out and asks for some assistance, and I already have plans or I'm already busy, but I decide that I'm going to adjust my schedule to love and support my friend. And I'm doing that from a place of love and compassion, right? So all of that makes sense. That's beautiful. We don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So how do you tell the difference when you're doing something for somebody and it's codependent? And so there's a number of different, I'm going to read you a bunch of questions in a little while, but just on this point of the why, if I am ditching my plans, and I'm just staying with that example, because my spouse has asked me to do something, and I don't actually want to do it. And let's keep this in the context of a marriage that's broken or a divorce that's underway. And I do it anyway, and I do it for fear that he or she will react and be hurtful. I do it to keep the peace. I do it from more of a place of trying to get something, trying to control something. So I'm trying to control the peace. I'm trying to have him or her not get upset with me or not react. And when you're coming from that place where it's more of a fear energy, it's more of a avoiding conflict energy. And this isn't about what's right or wrong, it's about beginning to notice tendencies. And so I'm going to read just a couple of questions that might help you. This is an assessment that I have on whether or not you're a codependent. And if you put codependent in the comments, I'll DM you and send you the assessment. So, do you place your partner's needs ahead of yours, right? And again, we might place our children's needs ahead of ours for a good reason. We may place our partner's needs ahead of ours for a good reason, from a place of love. But this is more of a place of fear or trying to control an outcome. Are you afraid to tell your partner when your feelings are hurt? So this is about, do I not show up as my authentic self? Do I avoid, do I not behave a certain way to keep something from happening? Um, do you smile when you're angry? Do I mask? Um, do you have difficulty establishing personal boundaries and keeping them? I do a boundary boot camp, and a lot of especially women talked about being raised as being good girls, and if I hold a boundary, then I'm not pleasing the other person. I'm being mean. I'm not being a good girl, a good woman. Uh, do you feel nervous or uncomfortable when you're alone? Now, this is a different one, and this comes to the root of codependence. So, a very good friend and colleague of mine, Ross Rosenberg, he refers to codependence as a self-love deficit disorder. And so, and he's a psychotherapist, and at the core of his work is codependence is rooted in our childhood, in our family of origin. And so, as children, and I went through a 12-step program, and this was so helpful for me to understand, as children, we intuitively develop coping mechanisms to be safe in our family of origin. And I grew up in a family of origin that involved alcoholism, and my mom was a bit of a rageaholic. And so uh, there were coping mechanisms. I didn't think about it. It wasn't an intellectual decision. It was an intuitive decision to be the peacekeeper, to play small, to stay out of trouble, to notice other people's feelings and take care of them or avoid them. And so Ross Rosenberg says it's self-love, and that we have a lack of self-love. And the lack of self-love comes from a dysfunctional family where you weren't first. Your parents couldn't put you first. I had one client whose dad had a terrible accident and was paralyzed. And so at a very young age, all of mom's attention went to dad, and the kids were also encouraged to take care of dad, which again isn't a bad thing. But as innocent children, what it developed was the sense that my needs don't matter. I need to take care of other people's needs. Is this resonating? Does this make sense to you? Another client of mine, um, a man that I was working with, his dad died. I think he was 8 years old. And he had to kind of step up and be the man of the house. And so at a very young age, he learned how to be codependent, how to put his needs aside, how to swallow what he had to say or wanted to do, and to read the room, read other people's needs, focus on them, take care of them. And so then what happens is, our hope is that if I caretake and I caretake and I caretake, you'll love me back, and that's how I'll get love. And when we lack the self-love that we need, we're out there in relationships, and not just intimate relationships. Clients of mine who are codependent in their marriage, with their children, with their friends, in their work. They could even own the company and go, oh my God, I'm so codependent. I worry about what everyone else is thinking or needing, and I don't want to burden anyone. And again, when we come back to the root, what's the why? And that's how you can tell if what you're doing is healthy caretaking or codependence. And so when you know your why, I'm just looking, when you know your why, it gives you a sense of where you are. And I'm just going to read through a couple more of these questions. Is it difficult to express your true feelings to your partner? Right? If you can't, then there's a fear behind that, right? So your why is, I won't because it's not safe, because it'll upset him or her. Um, Do you feel nervous or uncomfortable when you're alone? That comes back to that self-love piece. Do you need to be around other people? Do you need to be getting their feedback? Do you need to have something to be able to do for them? One that hit me I got this list when I was at the tail end of my marriage. Do you have sex when you don't want to? And so many of my clients over a decade and a half have said that, um, yeah, yeah, I'll do it so I keep the peace, um, so they don't get angry, so I avoid the conflict, uh, so they get their needs met even though it's not what I want to do. Do you rely on your partner to make most of the decisions in the relationship? Another thing a codependent might do is never choose the restaurant, never choose the meal, always uh, offer the other person to make the decision. Do you keep silent in order to keep the peace? So this is a questionnaire. It's an assessment with 25 questions where once you answer them, you will be able to assess your level of codependence. And if you've been working on your codependence, this is a great assessment to take because then you can see how far you've come. You could answer it in the how you used to be and the where you are now. And that's what I did. And I just want to wrap this up with one last thing. I was recently accused of being rather codependent by some family members, and given that I speak about this, that I've worked on this, that I do a training on this, I went back to Codependence No More, the book by Melody Beattie, and I read through. I think her chapter 4 has a checklist on everything, and I spoke to my therapist about it, and it turned out that what was in fact just a deep, unconditional, loving parental choice in how to support my adult children was being interpreted by some of my family members as codependent. And that really brought this point of what's the core, what's your why, what's the emotional energy that you're coming from. That really clarified it for me. So in wrapping up, I want to say that if you're in a complex marriage, an imbalanced marriage, something that's dysfunctional, toxic, difficult, high conflict, uh, there's a very good chance if your spouse is the difficult, high conflict individual that you may have some or many codependent behaviors. And so we're always talking about how to keep the focus on yourself. My encouragement would be drop codependence in the comments, get the assessment, and begin to pay attention to your fear and your drive, your motivation. And it's scary to step out of that because the fear is that everybody's going to consider you selfish, which at first they may, since you've trained them that you'll jump. But it's also incredibly liberating to take back your power, to um, have your yes be a yes and your no be a no, and to do things when your heart truly wants to do them, and choose to go through the discomfort and say no when you really don't want to. And so I hope that you find value in today. I'll be back again tomorrow with day 6 of my 21-day live. You have a great day.